Shields up, Paladins, and welcome to an Overwatch 2 Hero Guide. As you can tell by the title of this video, I'll be talking to you all about Ramattra and how I like to use this particular character. Ramattra, in his Omnic form, has 450 health, while in his Nemesis form, he has 450 health plus 225 shield. Now, with all this said and done, let's go ahead and jump right on over to his weapons and his abilities. Now, his first weapon, which is in his Omnic form, which is the form that holds the staff, which that staff is called the Void Accelerator. Now, the aim type of this is a projectile. The description of this weapon is fires a stream of projectiles in a fixed pattern. The damage is 4.5 per projectile. Projectile speed is 80 meters per second. The rate of fire is 25 per second. Ammo is 100. Reload time is 1 second. And of course, you can get headshots with this weapon. Now, damage per second is 112.5 or 90 overall with reload. This is of course exclusive to his Omnic form, and there's no damage fall off of this weapon. Now going over to his first ability, which is called the Void Barrier. Now this barrier, unlike other barriers that you get like from Sigma or Reinhardt for example, his barrier only lasts 13 seconds. So now this of course he created barrier at a targeted location. The health is 1000. Max range is 35 meters. Duration is 4 seconds and cooldown is 13 seconds. Now again, this is exclusive to his Omnic form. This is while targeting a line on the floor is generated to show the player where the barrier will be drawn. Targeting can be cancelled by pressing the primary fire button, and the ability is stationed where it is placed. So if it is placed on top of my ice wall, it will remain in mid-air even after the ice wall expires. So keep in mind, where you aim this thing is where it's going to go. You have 35 meter range with this, so it can go pretty far. And again, I'll talk about while at the end of this kind of how I like to use all these abilities and his forms and stuff like that. So, and speaking of his forms, we're now going to go over to his Nemesis form. So, this is an ability. Now you transform into Nemesis form, changing your tags and gaining bonus armor. So this lasts for 8 seconds. Healing is plus 225 armor. Movement speed is a plus 20% buff. Duration is 8 seconds. Cooldown is also 8 seconds. Now this grants Ramattra 225 armor and replaces Void Accelerator and Void Barrier with Pummel and Block. Cooldown starts when the transformation ends. Nemesis form is not interrupted by crowd control, and Ramattra can use regular quick melee while also in Nemesis form. Now his next primary fire while in Nemesis form is called Pummel. So aim type is melee and a projectile. This is punch forward, creating a wave of energy with every swing. So max range is 12 meters, damage is 60, the rate of fire is 1 attack for every 0.6 seconds, and you have unlimited ammo while in this form. So the damage per second is 100. This is exclusive to the Nemesis form. Now the punches pierces enemies and barriers, also damages the barrier on top of that. So this also damages enemies behind Zarya's particle barrier and projected barrier, but not enemies affected by it. Now this cannot be absorbed by D.Va's defense matrix, I believe is what it's called. On top of this, cannot be interrupted or absorbed by Sigma's kinetic grasp. This cannot be blocked by the javelin spin or deflect from either Orisa or Genji. Deflect does not return the hits. This does not damage enemies through Mei's ice wall. The ice wall will absorb the damage of that. So this can also damage can be amplified through Baptiste's Amplification Matrix on top of that, and quick melee cancels the recovery animation. A lot of information to take in there. Now his next ability, while exclusive to his Nemesis form, is called Block. So significantly reduces the damage taken from the front and reduces movement speed. So damage reduction is 75%. Movement speed is a negative 50% penalty. So this is again exclusive to his Nemesis form. There's no cooldown or duration. This is activated upon pressing the button or toggle. The effectiveness extends the AoE ultimates such as Hanzo's Dragon Strike and Torbjorn's Molten Core. This does not reduce damage based on percentage of health of Sigma's Gravitational Flux or Sombra's EMP. However, the damage of Sigma's Gravitational Flux can be decreased by looking up during the hover due to the damage coming from above and block being able to be blocked directional, to be able to block the directional damage that's coming from. So in other words, again, while if you do get stuck in that animation, the damage is coming from above, not below, where you think you'll hit the ground and that's what causes the damage, and that's just not the case. So block reduces the initial stick damage abilities of Tracer's Pulse Bomb, but does not the explosion damage. So the explosion damage is still going to happen, you're still going to tank everything, but you can reduce a little bit of the initial stick. So with all that being said, we'll go right on over to his next ability, which is the Ravenous Vortex. So the aim type is a projectile and an area effect. So this is fire a nanoball which explodes when it hits the ground, spreading the damage field. Affected enemies are also slowed and pulled downward. This has a 12-second cooldown on it. But the damage is 15 per second. Movement speed is a negative 40% penalty. Projectile speed is 30 meters per second. Max range is 4 meters plus a negative 9 meter height. Duration is 3 seconds and there's a 12-second cooldown. This is available in both forms, his Omnic and his Nemesis form. The projectile must hit the ground to activate. The projectile can negate Diva's defense matrix, Orissa's javelin spin, and Sigma's kinetic grasp, and it can be deflected by Genji's deflect. Area requires line of sight, which can be blocked by walls and barriers. Pulls down enemies lifted by Sigma's gravitational flux and wrecking ball during his pile driver, but does not prevent their effects. Strangely, it also appears that Doomfist's rocket punch is not affected by the speed reduction. And finally, we're going to get to his ultimate ability, which is called Annihilation. So the type is area of effect. So enter a Nemesis form and create an energy swarm surrounding yourself. The swarm will lash out towards nearby enemies, dealing damage and pausing the duration when damage is dealt. So this requires 1,680 points to use. Damage is 30 damage per second. Area effect is 13 meter radius. Duration is 3 seconds, or infinite while dealing damage to enemies, and the ultimate cost again is 1,680 points. Now, this transforms you into Nemesis form until the ultimate ends. If Annihilation is activated from Nemesis form, Ramattra does not regain that armor from re-entering Nemesis form. This nullifies cooldown on Nemesis form, allowing it to be active immediately after the end of the ultimate. However, due to the bugs that currently are going on right now, that may not actually happen. But what it should happen, it should nullify that cooldown completely. Annihilation cannot be interrupted by any crowd control effects. The timer only goes down when no enemies are affected by Annihilation. So this means enemies must be within the line of sight to be affected by Annihilation. This does not affect enemies through barriers, including Zarya's projectile barrier and May's ice wall. This does not affect invulnerable enemies like Zenyatta during his Transcendence. Bob does not count, or I'm sorry, excuse me, Bob does count as a valid target. Constructs such as Ramattra's sentry turrets and Torbjorn's deploy turrets do not take damage. Also, this does not affect Sombra while she is invisible unless Ramattra enters her detection radius. And of course, this can be cancelled by using Nemesis form abilities. So, that was all of Ramattra's abilities, weapons, and ultimate, and what they do, and everything like that. So now, how to use Ramattra as a whole. Now, here's the thing with him, is that his style differs in a lot of ways from other different tanks. And you have to really play him according to what form you're in. So, in his Omnic form, Ramattra is good at kind of, quote-unquote, if you will, poking the enemy, whereas his Nemesis form is designed to get up close and personal, up in your face. Kind of almost thinking of like how Reinhardt is. You know, you kind of have to be right up in your face with Reinhardt. Same way with Ramattra in his Nemesis form. Players, or whoever, have to choose when it's best to enter his Nemesis form, such as rushing the enemy. Also, his shield is only good for up to 4 seconds, so use it as a flash shield to counter ultimates. His great strength is chaining together attacks with his team. So keep in mind whenever someone's going in for an ultimate, or if someone, as in if you're, depending on what game mode you're playing, you know, you can use your Nemesis form to kind of help counteract something, or even go into Nemesis form to go into your blocking ability to maybe block someone coming damage to help your team from behind you. You know, that's something else that you can do with that, which is great as well. Now, something that I have to say with Ramattra is that even with his Nemesis form giving you that 225, I believe, extra shield, it's almost like you kind of have to watch out for that. It's almost like you have to not necessarily have a pocket healer, but have a healer that's very, very good at keeping an eye on everyone's health. You have 2 healers, so surely one of them's going to heal you. I've been in games where none of them have healed me as Ramattra. So if you've got a good healer that is going to heal regardless, that will help tremendously with Ramattra, as he has no way of kind of healing himself, and the only way that he can protect himself is either with his shield that only has a certain time limit to stay up, or with his Nemesis form going into the block ability, but again his Nemesis form has a cooldown on top of that. Other than that, you only have 400 health to play with, and that can go quick depending on who you're up against. So again, you kind of have to pick and choose how you play as them. You can't really be an up in your face aggressive Ramattra even in your Omnic form. You really have to really focus on that quote unquote. You're just poking them. You know, you're just sitting there poking the bear, if you will. Then once you're able to fully engage, or if the enemy team is not really paying attention to you, and then you can go into your Nemesis form and really have fun. Also with your Annihilation, if your team is smart enough, you know, they can boop, or like if you got a Lucio on your team, he can use his boop ability to bounce them back into your ultimate, and kind of, you know, have fun that way. So there's many ways that you can do this, but I would say at first for new players, there is a little bit of a learning curve with him. You kind of have to play somewhat defensively with him, but also play somewhat aggressively once you get into certain situations. So it's really the best way to understand when to do that is, of course, by playing as him. But hopefully I answered a lot of questions, comments, concerns. If there's anything else that I missed, please leave a comment down below. I would love to read it and love to answer back to you all. And hopefully there's a lot more Ramattras out there, and hopefully I answered a lot of questions, comments, concerns, like I said. So with all that being said and done, I will see you all within the next video.